Hi, this is Ashish Bedekar and welcome to my podcast, The ARB Show. I'm thrilled to introduce today's guest, Pranav. Pranav is an accomplished engineer, entrepreneur, and visionary leader who has spent 17 years in Silicon Valley before returning to India, and his aim and vision is to revolutionize personal mobility. As the co founder and CEO of Wings EV, Pranav has spearheaded the development of Robin, an innovative electric microcar designed to transform urban transportation. A Stanford University alumnus with a rich background in technology, including roles at Amazon and Stripe, Pranav blends technical expertise with entrepreneurial grit. His journey from prototyping in his courtyard to creating a groundbreaking EV startup is really inspiring. Let's dive into his story. Thank you, Pranav, for being a guest on the show. I look
Thank you,
forward
Ashish.
I look forward to hearing your insights on top 5 trends in EV micromobility. Maybe you can just start with overview of how you are inspired to start this startup and the current status, and then maybe let's dive into those trends which you would like to share. Take it away, Pranav. Over to you.
Sure. No, thank you for having me. And this is sort of exciting. We have been working on our electric microcar Robin for the last about 6 years. I moved back to India in 2019, and we started thinking about Robin when I was still in the US. My co-founder in the venture is my father, who is ex-IIT Bombay. He's an electrical engineer, has a deep background in automotive and industrial electronics. And so when my parents were visiting us in the backyard, we were building an electric tricycle. And at some point, we sort of realized that this could be an interesting, useful form factor for as like a roundabout city sort of vehicle, where if you just want to run a few errands, want to go to a bank, go get groceries, you just need like a stable vehicle with some luggage space or storage space. Maybe it has to be fully covered. And then we tinkered a little more, sort of built some more electric functionality into it. One of the things we realized is that in India there has never been a three-wheeler vehicle that has been accepted for personal use in the consumer market. Three-wheelers have always been thought of as a commercial vehicle, and so we said, well, in the same footprint, if we could build a four-wheeler, so something that had 2 seats but had 4 wheels, that would be compelling. But the most sort of distinguishing attribute of Robin is that it has the length and width of a motorbike. So really, it has the mobility of a two-wheeler, but the safety and comfort of a small car. And so in that sense, we think it's sort of the perfect vehicle to go about town for your everyday needs.
Great. And I'm sure in places where parking is a challenge, and I'm sure that's in most parts of the world, especially in the urban areas, this would come as a blessing, right? And of course, when you talk of a smaller footprint, I'm sure there would be a lot of ecological benefits as well in terms of carbon footprint and the likes. So great. So that's really fascinating. So when are you planning to launch? Because you told me this is right now still in pre-order stage.
Correct. So we're right now taking pre-orders, and in parallel, we're working on setting up the production plant and tooling and everything. Excellent. We're hoping to start deliveries by end of the year.
Okay.
But we've been sort of spreading the word, and the reception just has been incredible. I mean, we have pre-orders from 40 some cities in the country, and people are coming to test drive in Bangalore and Indore and Pune. All the way, right? So from Chennai and Coimbatore, people are visiting Bangalore just for test drives.
Wow.
So we're very grateful for the kind of reception, the kind of interest and excitement that Robin is generating.
Excellent. So great. I mean, I'm equally keen, and I'm sure all the audience and your would-be fans would be interested in what you would like to share about your insights on the trends in micromobility. So let's start. So what do you feel are the some of the top key highlights which you would like to share?
Right. So that's actually an interesting question, because it sort of allows me to zoom out of the particular vehicle we are building and think more about what does the industry look like, what direction things are moving. And so one of the trends that I'd probably like to start with is that vehicle ownership is not going to die, right? So for the last several years, there was a trend that, well, maybe shared mobility is the way to go. A car is an expensive thing. Generally a vehicle is an expensive thing, and it's a depreciating asset. And so the thinking was that maybe nobody needs to own anything. You can just take a Ola or a Uber everywhere, or take a one of those shared bike rides to the metro or whatever, and nobody needs to own a vehicle, right? One thing we have realized is that that's not going to happen, at least in India and most places around the world, because there is a certain comfort and convenience that comes from owning a vehicle, which is reliably available to you every time you need it, and is fitted or adapted to your specific tastes and preferences and lifestyle. And so shared mobility is useful, but shared mobility will not replace ownership. So shared mobility might still continue to be used in campuses. So, if you're a college campus or a corporate campus or a defense campus, you might need shared mobility there. It might be used in some cases with fleets where people are doing deliveries, e-commerce deliveries or food deliveries and so on. But vehicle ownership is very much here to stay.
Got it. Again, there are some trends which you see. One is fractional ownership. So a same vehicle being owned by 5 or 6. That's a kind of class of shared mobility. Another trend which is coming up is the subscription-based, kind of models, in which you don't buy the car outright, but you kind of pay a subscription price every month. But I guess to your point, these are early days, and sure, anything with tech, you run the hazard of making a prediction and it coming back to bite you. So I mean, what you say is right, because car is not just a rational decision; it's an emotional decision. And something which is emotional and which makes you human, it's really won't go away so soon, right? So great. So that was fascinating. So what are some other points or other highlights you would like to share?
So another interesting sort of trend with electrification of vehicles, right, is that if you think back to 20 or 30 years ago, there were a very small number of fixed categories of vehicles. There was a scooter, there was a motorbike, then there was a auto rickshaw, which is a three-wheeler, and then you had 2 or 3 different kinds of cars, and then you had maybe 2 or 3 different size trucks, right? And so there were only 7 or 8 categories of vehicles, and they were so the reason was that IC engine, the IC engine sizes could not just be adjusted willy-nilly, right? So the sizes, and then 2-stroke versus 4-stroke engines and so on, and these things were not that easy to customize in a wide variety of ways. What electrification has done is that, number one, it allows miniaturization. So the entire powertrain shrinks. So you can allow the vehicle to shrink, or you can make more space in the same sized vehicle. And the second is that there are a bunch of issues with IC engine vehicles that electric vehicles don't have to deal with, like heat, vibrations, noise, right? And so because of all of this, electric mobility is enabling a wide variety of form factors, right? So it's almost like a Cambrian explosion of life forms, of vehicle forms. And so you have things like Yulu, right, at the very lowest end, right, like a dinky little sort of two-wheeler. Then you have electric bikes. You have the kinetic Luna making a comeback as an electric Luna. You have low-speed scooters, high-speed scooters. You have motorbikes. Among three-wheelers, you have electric rickshaws, which are low-speed three-wheelers. Then you have normal rickshaws. You have loading rickshaws. Cars are becoming, we have micro cars like us, and then hatchbacks, and then other bigger cars. So depending on the use case, consumer versus commercial, passenger versus cargo, intercity versus intracity, there are new form factors coming up, which are all electric, and which are made possible by the fact that the electric powertrain is much smaller, doesn't have vibration and noise and heat issues, and can be customized to make a 2 kilowatt, 2.5 kilowatt, 3 kilowatt, 3.5 kilowatt motors, right? So there is a wider variety of motors which can be used to power wider variety of form factors.
True. And I think from that perspective, the whole industry is, undergoing a dramatic change. I read somewhere that there is a startup which is talking about a car plus flight kind of a mode, right? So
Right.
that was, flying car. So something which was till now was fiction or fantasy could possibly become, a reality. And just on that same part, right? Because of a smaller form factor, maybe I'm just thinking a lot. Maybe in 10 years you could also have a drone component to it, right? Wherein a small car becomes a kind of autonomous, a drone or autonomous vehicle as well. So interesting time ahead. Excellent.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So what are we covered some two interesting points. So let's move on to the third point, which you would like to share. So what do you think another thing which you feel that this is a trend or key insight about micromobility?
Right. So the observation is that once you make an electric powertrain, right, you enable the incorporation of a combination of sensors, software, data, and AI. Right. So because there is the powertrain is already electric, it's easier to get a wider variety of sensors to be incorporated, and then the combination of sensors. So there is not just an electric powertrain, there is also a communication network in the vehicle, right? In our case, it's a protocol called CAN, which is used often in hardware industries. So CAN is a very popular sort of protocol, but it's a communication protocol. And so that communication protocol allows exchange of messages, exchange of data, and that data can then be captured by onboard ECU. It can also be sent over to the cloud, right? And the benefit of that is, first of all, that you have a lot of observability into the vehicle behavior. So a very sort of simple example that I like to give to people during our sort of R&D phase was that when we were clamping the brakes, we were never sure whether the brake caliper was mounted precisely because we were doing things by hand. As a prototype, we weren't tooled up. And so in order to know whether the brake is too harsh or is clamping the disc, we would measure the current drawn by the motor. And we knew that if the current is too high, so we knew what the current should be when the motor is completely running free. If the current is too high, then the brake must be too tight. Right? So this kind of and we could measure precisely how much the brake is clamping, right? How much energy is being lost in the thing because we knew precisely the current.
Got it.
So this is used during vehicle development. This kind of data that is collected is later on operationally used for sort of predictive diagnostics. So I can tell, you might be driving my vehicle and it is emitting all this data that is being sent to our cloud, where our AI models are tracking it, and they can flag in real time that your battery is running at a hotter temperature than it should, or your motors are not producing the kind of torque they should for the same current, and so on, right? So if there are issues in your battery, in your motor, we can flag it very quickly because we are able to collect this amount of data which is coming through the sensors and software.
Right. So for the audience, something to reflect, just like your iPhone, when you go to settings and check your battery, it kind of tells you kind of battery degradation, right? And that's a signal for you, right? So for example, if it is like 50, 60, it's time to change the battery, right? So similarly, because you've got data, you can kind of predict many things in advance, right? So that will save a lot of hassles and a lot of areas also. So are you also planning things like, just like in normal vehicles, you have recommended annual maintenance which needs to be done. So you're kind of taking care as well. I assume that you're building your, your dealer network, etc., which will take care of those things. But one important point when it comes to sensors or data is the whole aspect of privacy and security. So
Right.
the data which is generated by an individual's car, right? Who
Correct.
owns that data? So that's one. So do you have some mechanism wherein the you kind of take a consent from the user saying that okay, your data is going to be used anonymously for for analytics purposes XYZ. That's one point. And second point is from a security perspective. How do you take care of cybersecurity issues which would prevent any bad actor in taking remotely access of any vehicle? So maybe if you can share light on those, that would be useful.
Sure. No, those are both great questions. So on the privacy question, the answer is relatively sort of straightforward, which is that we do not track anything without your consent. Right. So when you buy the vehicle, we have you we tell you what data we're going to track. We only track things by your consent. We don't track anything that is personally sensitive, like your location, etc. Right. We track vehicle sort of vehicle level parameters like currents, voltages, temperatures, and so on. And if you choose not to have them tracked, then we won't track it. But then we also won't be able to give you the predictive diagnostics that we can otherwise do.
Right.
The on the security side, very early on, we made the design decision to not have any wireless communication among the nodes in the vehicle. There is literally one endpoint in the vehicle which talks to the cloud, and it only talks to the cloud over an encrypted thing, right? Where the only sort of most times it is only emitting to the cloud. It is not receiving anything from the cloud. From the cloud, the only thing you receive is sort of an over-the-air update, which is very precisely sort of encrypted and so on. So the idea is that you don't have, the vehicle doesn't have any other wireless receptors which you can communicate or control from, say, sitting 10 feet outside the car. Right. And that I mean, there have been instances of that in the past. And we were very mindful of that. And we said, well, we don't want that sort of vulnerability or even a potential vulnerability built into the vehicle.
Good. So specifically on the privacy and security aspects, so is there any specific certification or which you are kind of compliant or aiming to be compliant, which kind of would give confidence to the customers as well?
That's a good question. We haven't we haven't done that yet, right? That's something we can always look into. Yeah. But the simple fact that we don't have a wireless sort of device emitting from inside the vehicle, that's easy to check just with a simple tool.
True.
So sort of as a starting point, that tells you that this vehicle is much harder to hack into for compared to almost anything else on the road.
Excellent. So that's a pretty comprehensive play. And again, from I'm sure down the line you may have customer queries. For example, it's important to remember this, that if a customer does not give consent to share analytics, it is possible that any predictive maintenance or any update which ideally he should have got, he may not get it. And he's likely to come back to you and say, hey, this is not working. And the obvious answer would be, you didn't allow us to work for you, right?
Yeah. So. No, and that is for each customer to decide whether the job is worth it for them.
Got it. Cool. So I think we have covered some interesting areas and aspects. So what are the next 2 points you would like to share?
Sure. So one is about this sort of, so this is my sort of contrarian take on things, which I thought your audience might find useful. There is a trend in automotive today that everything has to be made bigger, bolder, taller, wider, right? So for example, just as a matter of numbers, the best-selling car in India 5 years ago was the Maruti Alto. Today, it is not even in the top 10. The top 10 are all much larger today. Most of them are what you would call mini SUVs or micro SUVs. So they are things like Tata Punch and Hyundai Creta and Tata Nexon and Maruti Brezza and so on, right? So there is a trend to move away from hatchbacks toward SUVs, right? And what I have observed and my colleagues have observed from talking to customers is that people for their everyday city driving needs still want something small. These are people who are sitting on, they have a large SUVs, but Tata Harriers and Nexons and other things, and they are absolutely petrified of taking their large cars into narrow streets in the middle of the city and being stuck there.
Got it.
Right?
Got it.
So people have still have a deep appreciation for compact vehicles. There are people who drive nanos today. They're looking for used nanos. There are people who drive Revas and you're looking for used Revas. I come across them all the time.
Got it.
And so in some sense, it is the failure of imagination of the automotive OEMs that they haven't been able to build a compact form factor that would appeal to people.
Got it.
So when we built the microcar, we're sort of going against the grain of saying everybody else is building larger vehicles. Let's build a very compact vehicle.
Yeah. So on the same point, when you say small is beautiful, I assume that also covers the aspect that customers would like to see it as a extension of their personality, right? So things like a hip, modern, ahead of the curve, would like to use eco-friendly alternatives, things like that. So
Right.
so I'm sure the coloring or the color options, etc., would also be very, very, very dynamic and very hip, right? So which will really eye-popping colors, as they say, right from, I don't know, about bubble gum pink, tangerine orange, or shocking pink, or shocking electric blue, things like that. Another thing, have you considered, because there's another trend where people like to personalize their their kind of goods or products or brands they like. Classic example is for example Crocs. So in Crocs, you've got this small ornaments, I think it's called giblets or so, which kind of people, customers buy and kind of customize it for their look. And and even I'm sure you would have seen the whole phenomena of Stanley Cups, right? So who would have imagined like a staid kind of product like a cup or a water holder? It's called a hydration vessel or whatever, I don't know. And you've got lots of customization aspects which kind of make it your own. So have you also thought of that, because your positioning of small is beautiful, kind of ties in with that concept as well?
Absolutely. No. So first of all, we do have, we made a very early decision to not have Robin come out in any of the conventional car colors. So we don't have a black or a white or a dark blue or a dark red or a silver, right? These are sort of the cars, colors that are conventionally used. Exactly what you said. So we have these eye-popping colors, which make it stand out, which make it sort of make people notice it, right? And then yes, we're working on some personalization options. It's sort of still early days, but that's something we'll roll out over time. But the fundamental thing is still that increasingly, because of an awareness of the environment and climate crisis and so on, people are gravitating toward efficiency. They are becoming more aware of their footprint, their carbon footprint, their resource consumption. That they like the fact it's a matter of statement increasingly among young people. They're making a statement that I'm eco-conscious.
Got it.
That I care about the environment, that I'm aware of the magnitude of the climate crisis, and they take pride in the fact that they're being efficient with resources, and that they're using a smaller vehicle or more compact or more efficient or more, so that's a very big sort of change that we are seeing among the people who are interested in Robin.
Excellent. So what would be your final insight, just to kind of wrap this whole thing up?
Right. So the again, sort of a contrarian observation is that on the one hand, India is the world's largest two-wheeler market. We sell something like 20 million two-wheelers a year every year, right? And yet what we are discovering is that increasingly people find two-wheelers to be unsafe and uncomfortable, right? So imagine women have, who go to work, they have to often wrap their face in a cloth, to protect their face from dust or pollution. Often they have to wear a helmet, which ruins their hair. Often when young families have kids that need to be taken to school or to classes, they are worried about having those kids sit in the back of a scooter where you're not sure. So basically traffic is becoming more unruly, the roads are becoming worse, and there is a growing desire among two-wheeler drivers for safety and comfort. And that is driving a lot of this transition to cars. When somebody is driving alone in a 5-seater car, they're not driving it for the 5 seats. They don't actually want the 5 seats. What they want is the safety and comfort of being in that enclosed vehicle. And so safety and comfort are increasingly becoming vital in a way that they weren't. And so as a matter of observation, there is no developed economy in the world that has a large two-wheeler market. Okay? As people become rich, they don't use two-wheelers anymore. And so the question we have to answer is, well, as India becomes rich over the next 10 to 15 years, what will be the future of personal mobility in India? And we think the answer is microcars.
Excellent. Thank you, Pranav. This gives a great perspective. And thank you, dear listeners, for tuning in. Do subscribe, share, and like this podcast. Consider giving us a 5-star rating if you like the content. Bye for now. Talk to you soon.